Before we save your tomatoes, listen, you already know how to grow food. But do you know how to keep it? There's a 300-year-old system the Amish have used to feed their families through every drought, every war, every economic collapse, without a single trip to a grocery store. It's called Amish Kitchen Secrets. 100 recipes, 45 food preservation methods, everything your great-great-grandmother knew, and everything the modern food system made you forget. 2 books, 1 bundle, $34, 0 dependency, and right now, while your tomatoes are still on the vine, is exactly the time to grab it. Link is in the description. Get it, then come back. Because what I'm about to show you will determine whether those tomatoes ever make it to a jar. Part 1. The immediate threat. Your garden is under attack right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. While you slept last night, something was feeding on your plants. Most gardeners don't see it until it's too late. They walk outside one morning, confident, expectant, and find a tomato plant stripped bare, leaves curled and yellowing, fruit pocked with holes. A summer's worth of work destroyed in days. This happens to beginners. It happens to experienced gardeners. It happens to people who thought they were doing everything right. Because the real threat isn't the pest you can see. It's the infestation you haven't noticed yet. Pests don't announce themselves. They don't knock. They move in quietly, multiply fast, and feed without mercy. By the time the damage is obvious, it's already catastrophic. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one tells beginners. The moment you plant a tomato, you've declared war, and you are losing ground every single day you don't fight back. The enemy comes in many forms. Some are microscopic, some are armored, some work in armies of thousands, but they all share one goal: your harvest. Not the grocery store's tomatoes, not the farmer's down the road. Yours. The specific, sun-warmed, hand-planted, carefully watered tomatoes in your garden. And here's what makes this infuriating. You don't need to be negligent to lose a crop. You just need to be uninformed. Let's fix that. The Big Four. Know your enemy. There are 4 pests responsible for the vast majority of tomato losses in home gardens across America. 4. Master these and you've solved 80% of your pest problem. First, aphids. Tiny, soft-bodied, often overlooked. They cluster beneath leaves, pale green, yellow, sometimes black, in colonies so dense the entire underside of a leaf looks like it's moving. Aphids pierce plant tissue and extract sap. Individually, the damage is minor. Collectively, it's systemic. They cause leaves to curl, yellow, and eventually drop. They weaken stems. They slow fruit development. But that's not the worst part. Aphids produce a sticky waste called honeydew. That honeydew coats leaves and invites a secondary infection, sooty mold, a black fungal film that blocks photosynthesis. One aphid problem becomes 2 problems simultaneously, and aphids reproduce asexually. In summer heat, a colony can double in days. You find 5 aphids on Monday. By Friday, there are 50. By the following Monday, hundreds. Speed is everything with aphids. Second, hornworms. This is the nightmare scenario. The tomato hornworm is 3 to 4 inches long, green, camouflaged perfectly against your plant stems. It eats entire leaves, cleanly, completely, leaving nothing but bare stalks. It can strip a mature tomato plant in under 48 hours. 48 hours. You go away for a weekend and come back to a skeleton. The hornworm's only advantage, for the gardener, is its size. If you look daily, you can find them. If you don't look daily, you won't notice until it's too late. Most people fail here. They check their garden every few days. They think it's enough. It is not enough. Third, whiteflies. Tiny white insects that live in clouds beneath leaves. Disturb the plant and they erupt into the air like dust shaken from a rug. They are not merely annoying, they are destructive. Whiteflies feed in the same way aphids do, piercing tissue, extracting sap. Like aphids, they excrete honeydew. Like aphids, they invite secondary infections. But whiteflies are harder to kill. They're more mobile. They're resistant to many chemical sprays, and they lay eggs in batches of 200 to 300, right on the underside of the leaves you probably aren't checking closely enough. Fourth, fungus gnats and root aphids. The invisible threat. You look at your plant from above and see nothing wrong. Leaves look okay. Stems look healthy. But underground, root aphids and fungus gnat larvae are destroying your root system. The plant begins to look inexplicably wilted. Growth slows, then stops, then reverses. By the time you investigate the roots, the damage is already done. This is the kill that confuses people most. They blame their soil, their watering, their fertilizer. They replant. The new plant struggles too. The problem was never the plant. But there is a catch. Knowing your enemy isn't enough. Chemical solutions work, briefly. Then resistance builds, the colony adapts, the chemical stops working. And now you've disrupted the beneficial insect population that was the only natural check on pest numbers. You've made yourself dependent on a product that stops working. Sound familiar? It should. It's the same logic behind the grocery store. There is a better way. Part 2, the $0 counterattack. Everything you need to stop these pests is already in your home, right now. Not at a garden center, not on Amazon. In your kitchen, in your pantry, in your bathroom cabinet. This is not folk wisdom. This is applied biochemistry. These solutions work because of specific physical and chemical mechanisms that pests cannot adapt to. Let's go through them. Weapon 1, dish soap spray. Cost, 0. Effectiveness, immediate. Application time, 3 minutes. Mix 1 tablespoon of plain dish soap, not antibacterial, not scented, not concentrated degreaser, into 1 liter of water. That's it. Shake gently. Transfer to a spray bottle. Apply directly to aphid colonies, making sure to coat the underside of affected leaves. Here's the mechanism. Aphids breathe through spiracles, tiny openings along their bodies. Soapy water coats these openings and suffocates them. There is no resistance possible. You cannot evolve immunity to suffocation. The colony dies on contact. Reapply every 3 to 4 days or after rain until you see 0 live aphids for 2 full weeks. But there is a catch. Do not spray in direct midday sun. The soap can burn leaves when the sun is intense. Spray in the morning or evening. Always rinse plants lightly the next morning to wash off residue. And here's what most people miss. The spray only kills on contact. Eggs are not affected. You must reapply. One application will not solve the problem. Consistency will. Weapon 2, neem oil. Cost, under $10 for a bottle that lasts an entire season. Effectiveness, broad spectrum. Application, weekly preventive, immediate response. Neem oil is pressed from the seeds of the neem tree. It contains a compound called azadirachtin, a natural insect growth regulator that disrupts the life cycle of more than 200 insect species. It does not kill instantly. It does something more powerful. It interrupts reproduction. Insects exposed to neem oil stop feeding, stop mating, stop laying eggs. Within a generation, the population collapses. Mix 2 teaspoons of neem oil with 1 teaspoon of dish soap. The soap acts as an emulsifier. In 1 liter of warm water, spray every surface of the plant. Thorough coverage is essential. Use weekly as a preventive. Use every 3 days during active infestation. Neem oil also has antifungal properties. That secondary sooty mold infection from aphid honeydew? Neem addresses it simultaneously. 1 product, multiple problems solved. But there is a catch. Neem oil affects beneficial insects too, particularly bees. Never spray during bloom when flowers are open. Spray in the early morning before bees are active, or in the evening after they've returned to their hives. Treating your plants is not the same as protecting your ecosystem. We will come back to that. Weapon 3, garlic and hot pepper spray. Cost, kitchen scraps. Effectiveness, deterrent and contact irritant. Application, weekly preventive. Take 4 to 6 cloves of garlic. The ones going soft in your pantry are perfect. And 2 to 3 hot peppers, or 1 teaspoon of cayenne powder. Blend with 2 cups of water. Strain thoroughly through a cloth until the liquid is clear. Add 1 tablespoon of dish soap. Dilute with 1 liter of water. This spray works on multiple levels. The sulfur compounds in garlic are intensely repellent to soft-bodied insects. The capsaicin in hot peppers is a contact irritant that drives away hornworms, spider mites, and beetles. Spray liberally on all plant surfaces. This does not kill. This deters. This makes your plant the least attractive option in the garden. Combine it with soap spray and neem oil, and you have a layered defense that approaches the effectiveness of commercial pesticides, with 0 chemical residue, 0 cost beyond your time, and 0 damage to your soil biology. Weapon 4, physical removal. This is the one everyone avoids. It works better than anything in a bottle. For hornworms, check your plants daily. Look on the stems. Look at the soil line. Look for frass, the dark pellet-shaped droppings that indicate a hornworm is feeding nearby. Find the worm, remove it, drop it in soapy water. Done. For aphid colonies on individual leaves, pinch off the leaf. Do not spray. Do not wait. Remove the leaf, seal it in a bag, discard it away from your garden. For whitefly eggs on leaf undersides, use sticky yellow traps hung at plant height. Whiteflies are attracted to the color yellow. The trap catches them before they return to lay more eggs. This is unglamorous work. It is also the most effective work you will ever do in a garden. Most people fail here because they want a spray bottle to solve the problem from a distance. They don't want to look closely, crouch down, check undersides, get dirty. The gardeners who thrive because they look every day, close, deliberately. 10 minutes a day, every day, will do more than any spray applied once a week. Weapon 5. Diatomaceous earth. Cost: about $15 for a bag that lasts years. Effectiveness: lethal to crawling insects. Application: soil surface and lower stems. Diatomaceous earth, often called DE, is fossilized algae ground into a fine powder. Under a microscope, each particle is a sharp, jagged crystal. To a soft-bodied insect crawling through it, it is a field of razors. DE lacerates the exoskeleton of insects, causing them to dehydrate and die. Apply a light ring around the base of each plant. Dust lower stems lightly. Reapply after watering or rain, as DE loses effectiveness when wet. DE is particularly effective against fungus gnat larvae in the top layer of soil, one of the hardest pests to address. But there is a catch. DE is not selective. It will injure beneficial insects too. Use it as a targeted barrier, not a broadcast spray. Keep it off flowers. Keep it off areas where beneficial insects travel. Precision wins over abundance here. Part 3. The long-term defense. Now we get to the real work. Sprays are reactive. They address symptoms. The true $0 defense is ecological. It's systemic. And once built, it largely runs itself. This is the part most gardeners never reach. Soil is your first line of defense. A plant growing in rich, biologically active soil is not the same organism as a plant growing in depleted, compacted, dead dirt. Healthy soil produces healthy plants. Healthy plants produce their own defenses. Plants under stress, nutritionally deficient, root-bound, waterlogged, drought-stressed, emit chemical signals that pests can detect. Studies have demonstrated this. Stressed plants are targeted preferentially by aphids and spider mites because they offer higher sugar content in their sap. Your pest problem may not be a pest problem. It may be a soil problem. This is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Fix your soil, and you will reduce pest pressure dramatically without a single spray. The 3-year soil building program is not optional for serious food gardeners. Year 1, amend with 4 to 6 inches of quality compost mixed in. Year 2, top dress every season and plant cover crops in fall. Year 3, your soil biology does the work for you. Earthworms are your indicator. Dig a hole 12 inches deep, 12 inches wide. Count the worms. Under 5 worms, your soil needs urgent attention. 10 or more, you are building something. 20 or more, exceptional. Your plants will prove it. Companion planting, your permanent army. Some plants chemically repel pests. Some plants attract beneficial insects, ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps, that prey on your pest population. Planting these strategically costs nothing after year 1. The seeds save themselves. The system self-perpetuates. The power trio for tomatoes. Basil planted adjacent to tomatoes has been demonstrated to repel aphids and whiteflies. The volatile compounds in basil leaves, linalool and estragol, are intensely repellent to soft-bodied insects. Plant basil within 6 to 12 inches of every tomato plant. Marigolds, specifically the French variety, Tagetes patula, emit a compound from their roots called alpha-terthianol. This compound is toxic to root knot nematodes, one of the most destructive soil pests. Above ground, the scent of marigolds deters whiteflies and aphids. Plant marigolds at the base and border of every tomato bed. Nasturtiums act as a trap crop. Aphids strongly prefer nasturtiums over tomatoes. A border planting of nasturtiums pulls aphid colonies away from your tomatoes and concentrates them, where you can address them directly without touching your food plants. This is called a sacrificial planting. You sacrifice the nasturtiums to save the tomatoes. But here's what most people miss. Nasturtiums also attract aphid predators. The concentrated colony on your nasturtiums becomes a feeding ground for ladybugs and lacewings. You are not just sacrificing. You are baiting and farming the enemy's predators simultaneously. This is systems thinking. This is what separates struggling gardens from thriving ones. Beneficial insects, your unpaid workforce. One adult ladybug eats up to 50 aphids per day. One lacewing larva eats up to 200 aphids in its larval stage alone. One parasitic wasp lays its eggs inside a live aphid. These insects are free. They are efficient. They ask for nothing. But you have to create conditions that attract and retain them. The single most destructive thing a home gardener can do, after using chemical pesticides, is planting a monoculture. A garden of only tomatoes, only peppers, only beans. Beneficial insects need habitat diversity. They need flowering plants for nectar. They need shelter. They need a source of water. Add flowering herbs to your garden. Dill, fennel, cilantro allowed to bolt. These flowers are magnets for beneficial wasps and flies that prey on caterpillars and aphids. Leave a small patch of clover or wildflowers at the garden's edge. Place a shallow dish of water with a few pebbles, so insects can land and drink without drowning. Create this environment and your pest control force multiplies every year, without any effort on your part. Water and the invisible damage. Most gardeners overwater. This is not opinion. It is the most consistent mistake observed across beginner and intermediate gardens. Overwatered plants develop shallow, oxygen-deprived root systems. They cannot uptake nutrients efficiently. They cannot produce the full spectrum of compounds that make them naturally pest-resistant. Overwatered soil becomes an incubator for fungus gnat larvae and pythium root rot, invisible until the plant begins to die from below. The correct watering practice, deep and infrequent. Water thoroughly until water runs from the drainage holes of containers, or until you've provided 1 to 2 inches in-ground. Then, let the soil dry out significantly before watering again. Push your finger into the soil, first knuckle depth. If it's still moist, do not water. This single change will immediately reduce fungus gnat pressure, strengthen root systems, and improve your plant's natural immunity. It costs nothing. It requires only a change in habit. Observation, the most powerful tool you own. I will say this again because it is the most important practical instruction in this entire video. Daily observation is irreplaceable. Not weekly, daily. 5 to 10 minutes every morning. Inspect undersides of leaves. Check stems at the soil line. Look for yellowing, curling, or spotted leaves. Check for frass. Look at the soil surface for gnat activity. You are not looking for a disaster. You are looking for the earliest possible signal. When you catch an aphid colony at 10 individuals, not 10,000, you handle it in 2 minutes with soapy water and move on. When you find one hornworm, not after it has stripped 3 plants, you remove it in 30 seconds. Early detection is not a minor advantage. It is the difference between a minor inconvenience and a lost crop. Most people fail here, not because they don't care, because they don't understand urgency. Pests do not wait, neither should you. The rotation principle. If you plant tomatoes in the same location every year, you are building a pest resort. Soil-dwelling pests, nematodes, cutworms, root aphids, verticillium fungi, overwinter in the soil where they fed successfully. Return their host plant to the same location the following spring, and you've handed them exactly what they need. Rotate your crops every season. No family of plants, tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, which are all nightshades, should occupy the same bed 2 years running. This one practice reduces soil-borne pest pressure by 50 to 80%. It also prevents nutrient depletion, since different crops draw different nutrients from the soil. Rotation is free. It requires only a plan. The 12-month action plan in the Food Self-Sufficiency Blueprint maps this out in detail, month by month, bed by bed. But even a handwritten sketch of your garden, rotated by plant family each season, is enough to break the cycle. The closing, autonomy and peace of mind. Here is the truth about growing your own food. It is not just about tomatoes. It is about the feeling of walking outside in the morning before the world demands anything from you, and knowing that what you're growing, what you're protecting, feeds your family. It is about knowing exactly what goes on your plate. No pesticide residue from a warehouse in another state. No tomatoes picked green and gassed red. No supply chain that fails when fuel prices spike. It is about the compounding return of a system you built, one that gets easier every year. Year 1, you are learning. Year 2, you are optimizing. Year 3, you are harvesting abundance. The pest strategies in this video are not complicated. They require no money. They require no special expertise. They require something more valuable: consistency. 10 minutes a day, a spray bottle, fresh garlic from your kitchen, eyes that look closely. That is all. But here is something I want you to sit with. Protecting your harvest is only half the equation. The other half is preserving it. You can stop every aphid on every plant in your garden and still lose your tomatoes to waste. Because growing 100 pounds of tomatoes is meaningless if 40 pounds rot on your counter before you can use them. The Amish understood this completely. For 300 years, they have produced food, preserved food, and fed their families through every storm the world has thrown at them. Not because they had more land, not because they had better tools, because they had a system. 100 recipes, 45 preservation methods, the complete knowledge of how to grow food, keep food, and feed a family without dependence on anyone or anything outside your own walls. That system is now available for $34. Amish Kitchen Secrets, 2 volumes, instant download, 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description. Get it now. Your tomatoes are coming in. You need to know what to do with them. Your kitchen scraps, the ones going in your trash right now, are worth more to your garden than any product on the shelf at a garden center. But most people do it wrong. They build a pile. They wait. Nothing happens. They give up. The next video will show you the exact science of building compost that finishes in 30 days instead of 6 months, using materials you already have, producing fertilizer richer than anything money can buy. Free food. Forever. That's next. Don't miss it. Your kitchen scraps, the ones going in your trash right now, are worth more to your garden than any product on the shelf at a garden center. But most people do it wrong. They build a pile. They wait. Nothing happens. They give up. The next video will show you the exact science of building compost that finishes in 30 days instead of 6 months, using materials you already have, producing fertilizer richer than anything money can buy. Free food. Forever. That's next. Don't miss it.